Hello, chess friends. Mike Koplitz, Royal Rooks Chess Club here in York, Pennsylvania, with another video on tactics. This is about double attacks and forks. We'll be looking at some famous games and how to look for opportunities for tactics. Of course, until you reach the 2000 or so level, chess tactics is going to win or lose games for you. Even above that, grandmasters play tactics too. So always be on the lookout. Now, what I like to ask my students is, looking at the position, tell me what you like or dislike or what you see in the white position. Looking for weaknesses is one of the things that will help you in the long run and find these chess tactics. Now, real quick, let me look for you. This is a game between a man named Engels and Santique 2000. And it demonstrates something quite intriguing. Let me show it to you as you're examining the position. I'm going to draw a green arrow like that. Now you'll notice that the king and the queen are on the same diagonal. And you'll also notice that black has the dark colored bishop. This is a weakness right off the bat, because if you take a notice here to this particular square, if the bishop can make it to this square, this is the c5 square, if the e7 bishop makes it to c5 and this bishop here is gone, you have a potential for a very nice king-queen fork and a double attack. Now, in this particular situation, you do have a rook sitting here that could somewhat temporarily intervene. Now, just to get the game running, it's actually black's move in this position, so I'm going to let this rook drop back to d1. It's the way the software works. You just have to deal with it. Black to move. Do you see the move? And I actually showed it to you there by moving the cursor. Right. Rook takes on a7. Now, you're probably sitting there saying, I'm not giving up a rook for a bishop. Well, when the queen comes here and takes, again, notice they're on the same diagonal. The black, or I should say dark squared bishop for white is gone. That would be the queen's bishop. And it allows then for this bishop to slide in and create a check. And notice then that we have a fork, because we have the bishop attacking the queen and checking the king at the same time, and the queen is lost. The only thing that white can do at this point is to come in, take the bishop, and then of course take with check. The king's got to move somewhere. Let's just move him over here somewhere. And now we have a queen, a rook, and a knight versus two rooks and a knight. And this is an easy win for black. Of course, now that you've done the tactic, you have to know how to win. So again, you want to be careful that when you put kings and queens or queens and rooks and you're putting them on the same diagonal, that your opponent does not have the bishop of that diagonal color. Here's an interesting position from a game by Paul Morphy. This would be like 1859, I think it said here. No, yeah, 1859 in Paris. Looking at the board real quickly, where are the weaknesses? Well, white's pretty secure here. Everything's pretty much protecting. Everything's protecting each other. So let's look at black for a second. And the tactics now arise because black actually has two pieces on priest. On priest means they're not protected. And that allows you to look for a double attack and a fork. Now let's take a look and see if you can see what piece you move or can move that would fork the bishop and the rook. And it's the queen. When the queen comes to a4, she's attacking the bishop and she's attacking the rook at the same time. Queens are excellent pieces for double attacks because she can move on the ranks and on the files and on the diagonals. And she's able here, in this case, to attack the two emprise pieces at the same time. So black will have to make some kind of move. Let's just make a move. And now, of course, he's protecting the rook. But, of course, he's going to lose the bishop. So you want to look at the board and look for emprise pieces. And especially if there are two on the board. So you want to remember when you have your game and on your position, have the least number of emprise pieces as you can on the board. Now, of course, that the queen is moved, you do realize that I said that this knight is emprise. But that's okay. There's nothing that black can do about taking this piece. And you only have one emprise piece. It's when you have two that tactics can start to happen. Or more, of course, of more than two. Here we have an interesting position. Because what we're looking at here, and I'll let you in on it, it's a knight fork. Knights are the nastiest little things to mess with. Because the forks just pop up all over the place. And even though I know to look for knight forks, I always end up falling into them. In this case, there is a really sweet knight fork sitting here. And I'll be honest with you, I had to look at the notation to see it, because I didn't see it right offhand. Now that I read the little section in the book, the 64 things you need to know about chess, I could see the knight fork. And that's one of the other things I want to take note of that you need to work on. It's called chess vision. And you can talk to players, probably 1500s and above, that tell you about chess vision. It's hard because it's being able to look at that position I have on the board for you and say, hey, black has a knight fork potential here, an interesting tactic. It's like 3 moves away. And when you start to see things like that, your chess is going to improve. So I'm going to hold for a second and let you take a look. See if you have the knight. You can see the black knight fork. It's going to be black to move. I may have to move one of the rooks to get the software to do its thing for white. But take a look at it. Stop, pause the video. See if you can see the knight fork. And then come back and I'll show it to you. Okay, here's the key square in all this. Believe it or not, it's the F2 square. If you could get the king, and let me see, I'm going to put that in red for you, so let me look at my cheat sheet. If you get the king to move to H1, notice the queen is on E3, then if the knight comes, this knight can come here, you have a knight, you have a fork. And I have no idea what the software just did. So let's go ahead and recapture the board. I'm using a DGT electronic board, which I think is a spectacular piece of hardware that you can hook up to your computer. So here's the move. It's rook take. Oh, it's going to want me to do a white move. So I'm going to just make a white move occur. So I can get the software doing its thing. Because it doesn't matter if this rook's on A or B1. Rook takes E5. Now, you should be saying, huh? Again, we're giving up a rook for a knight. I know the rook is worth more. But what you're missing, if you said that right off the top of your head, is this diagonal is going to open up. And you're probably still saying, so, okay, let's watch. Pawn takes e5. Now, queen takes f2 check. The knight is supporting the queen. The king has no choice but to move to h1. And remember, I said to you, if you could get the king on h1 and get the queen to stay on d3 where she is, then this knight sitting on e4 can come down to f2, forking the king and queen. So again, I'm going to give you a chance to pause for a second and see what the next move is. Do you see it? Yeah, you got it. It's queen takes e1. Check. White has no choice but to take back with the rook. And then you just simply bring your knight here. Check. And there it is, right? The knight forks. King has no choice but to move here. Knight takes queen, and you're up a piece. That was a neat fork. Let me do this for you while I can, because I have the board set up. Remember, that was the original position that we were looking at. I say if each of you can get chess vision where you can see that fork from that position, I guarantee you'll break 2,000 in time. You will start winning chess games like there's no tomorrow. And I wish I had better chess vision than I do have, because I didn't see it. But when I saw the first move, I did. Okay, this is the last one I'm going to give you. In a way, when I was thinking about this position, and actually the one before it, you're using a decoy. When you think about it, you're using a decoy to move the king to a specific square. And then you have the fork. In this case, that last case, it's a knight fork. And in this particular case, it's a knight fork. I also have a lot of musical clocks running, and it's like 4 o'clock, so I thought I avoided them all, but that's all right. It gives you some background sound. Tells you I'm not in a real studio. I'm doing this right out of my chess room, out of my house. Okay, we have an interesting situation. We have this knight here. We also have a knight right here. The question is, now this is going to be white to move, and white's going to win material. And I've already let you know it's going to be a knight fork. Well, it kind of makes sense. There's not a whole lot left on the board. So the question is, do you see where a knight fork would win material for white? You have to find the square. There's a key square to the whole thing here. Let me get rid of the green. Let me stop for a second. Use your chess vision and see if you can see the key square. This is it right here. That's the key square. If the black king were sitting here on f8 and the white knight sitting here on d7, and you see where the black queen is, that would be a king-queen fork with this knight. Now, of course, what's stopping it, let's get rid of these colors for a second, of course, is that knight. That knight's ruining the whole thing. Well, wait a minute. Why is it ruining the whole thing? Because look at this queen. Don't forget this queen here. If the queen were to take the rook, that would decoy the king to the F8 square, and all of a sudden the fork is there. So the question is, how are you going to get rid of this knight? Well, in the game, if you notice down here, the rook takes on e4. And in the game, and it's a game, actually, yeah, this is a Nimitz Gertz in year 2000. This is an actual game. At this point, Black has to accept that he's now down a piece and kind of be happy with that. But Black did not see the fork and the decoy. He takes with the knight. Notice now that d7 is completely unprotected. The king is not in position yet. So you can't swoop down here. I know a bunch of you are going to go, oh wow, I could just swoop down here with my knight. Right? That's your first inclination. Ooh, look, I'll even do it. Look! Yay, I forked the queen and the rook. Yeah, that's nice. However, better is queen takes on. Queen takes on f8. Check. King has to take the queen. Knight fork. King and queen. Take the queen. And you're a piece up. Not an exchange up, but a piece up. Nice little trap. So double attacks and forks are something you should always be looking for. It is a tactic. And sometimes what you'll do is you'll move your pieces so that you start to create the environment for a double attack or a fork. And then if your opponent doesn't see the tactic you just set up, you execute. And in this case, this is an easy win for white. I hope you enjoyed this segment on double attacks and forks. And there will be plenty more of these videos coming down the pike. Happy chess, guys. Bye.